Pregame.tv, Steve Fezzik with Brady Kannon breaking down the odds on the national title game here, granddaddy of them all, too, at the Rose Bowl. Auburn, Florida State. Brady Kannon, you already grabbed a winning bet on this. I'm going to go ahead and provide your bet as a winner and a winning bet on the other side, I hope. Let's talk about your winning bet. You took Auburn +9.
I did very early, probably about 3 weeks ago. I was able to get the 9, and as we know now, it's even down as low as 7.5. But I may come back and, now what you're going to talk about, I may get into or take a look at rather taking Florida State on the money line.
Right, and we do have a situation here. This happens every Super Bowl, happens in national title games where those who are betting the underdog don't want to take the points. They want their team to win, and they walk up the window and they say, give me Auburn to win.
Right.
Or they say, I'll take Florida State and lay the points. The people who are betting Florida, because the natural reaction of a recreational gambler is, what's this -300? I'm being cheated. That's ridiculous. I'm not going to lay 300.
And they like the thought of being able to put down $100 and win 500.
Bet a little to win a lot.
Right.
We do have a situation here. I like to go back old-time gambling with stories, and there's a great book out there, and there's a parallel here. Let me start out with the LVH put out Auburn 1,000 to 1.
Correct.
14 bets were punched in, 14 golden tickets, if you will.
Yes.
For small to medium amounts. That liability is very large at the LVH. So they are sitting on this big bill that's going to be charged to them if Auburn wins it all. So there's going to be pressure on Jay Cornegay and his staff what to do with this. So eventually, they're going to have to move this money line down and manage their risk and give, we would assume, bargains on Florida State.
Right, exactly. They need to somehow encourage Florida State money to offset that liability they have on Auburn.
Right, and by the way, this was documented in the book The Odds by Chad Millman, who's we've been on a panel with, that talked about 3 gamblers, mostly college basketball, but they talked some football, talked about the exploits of one recreational player that was trying to step up. Of course, Bob Scucci and Joe Lupo were running the Stardust back then, and they had a situation where they had huge liability on the Rams that people went in. I don't know if it was 400 to 1, 200 to 1, where they had this bag boy that was starting for them week 1 named Kurt Warner.
Right.
And that led, after going 4-0, 6-0, that liability, there's not much they could do. They blinked, and all of a sudden the Rams were 3 to 1 instead of 300 to 1.
Right.
And so they had a similar situation. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if Jay isn't calling.
And the point spread is very similar too. I remember that game opened up. In fact, I middled that Super Bowl. The Titans opened up as about an 8-point dog.
Yeah, that was in the book, and it went right to 7, and then it was painted 7 across the board. So you got the +7.5 or the +8, right?
I actually got 8, and then I came back on the other side with the Rams on the money line, and we know what happened.
And instead of laying like a 280, you probably got like minus a 225 or something.
I can't remember that part of it.
something along those lines, and that's something that the pros do on all these Super Bowls. It's not as lucrative as it once was, but where they'll take the points. And I remember that happened with a lot of the New England Super Bowls that they won by 3. Right. They were playing the favorite and going back and taking the points with the dog. And of course, in that book, Chad does a great job talking with Alan Boston about college basketball betting, and they cover the football as well with it. But the analogy here is we got the same situation. I'm just licking my chops in terms of I want Florida State on the money line, and I think what will happen is it'll gradually drop like a game of chicken, and then someone's going to say it's almost like an auctioneer, -260, -250, -240, -230, sold, and then boom, back up it'll go because it's just too lucrative.
Yeah, and you're going to wait obviously until where you feel that line is going to bottom out, but even where it is now at roughly -270, -280, you're still getting value because everywhere other than the LVH, it's probably -300 and something.
I want more value though.
Yeah.
I'm greedy. I don't even want.
Well, I think you have a good opportunity to get it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I bet the SEC to win it all. So I'm sitting on an Auburn -$1.10 ticket to win it all, essentially. So I'm going to lock in a loss on this rather than to go ahead and root for Auburn to try to win. And this affords me the opportunity to lock in less of a loss with that. So let me go ahead and make the middle official, though, on this game.
Sounds good.
All right, folks, I'm sorry I released the SEC to win it all. They'd won 7 straight championships. And if Alabama hadn't dunked this game off to Auburn, we would be sitting right now with Alabama as in fine shape, probably as a false favorite, but still as a favorite in this game. But instead, we're going to go ahead and we're going to win 2 units back because we're going to take Brady's Auburn War Eagle plus 8.5. We're going to take the points. We're going to wait patiently. We're going to camp out at Jay Cornegay's place. Great staff, and we're going to wait for him to drop this sucker down to minus 250. We're going to come back over the top and go ahead and lay 2.5 units to make 1 on Florida State. On the money line, we're going to cash both tickets. Everyone will talk about what a great national title championship game it was. Brady, do you like it?
I do, and I think it's, you talk about smart plays. This is obviously a smart thing to do. I think you're managing your money well. The odds are with you. I think it's, one thing that a professional gambler would do versus a recreational player who might not even know necessarily what we're talking about. But obviously the money line, Florida State just has to win the game. Auburn, you're catching 9 points. Florida State wins the game by 4. You cash both tickets.
One thing you can do with live wagering also, if you really want to be risk averse, is let's say you go late into the 4th quarter and they're putting up lines, obviously, in the title game. It goes to overtime. Then you can go ahead and say, okay, I know I've won my plus 9. Now I can go ahead and play back and take some Auburn on the money line, plus $1.40 at that point or whatever it might be, and go ahead and or adversely, like if Auburn's down by 11, then we could play back and say we could take Florida State minus 10. On a live wagering and lock in a profit that way. As long as the game stays, it doesn't have to be in the corridor. That'll help, obviously.
Right.
But if it's close to the corridor, we can go ahead and play it that way as well.
It ought to be fun. I think it's going to be a great game, and I do think Auburn can cover the 9 points. I think they have a tremendous running game. I really think they have that team of destiny label with them. Coach Gus Malzahn has been fantastic, and I don't want to get in front of that train right now. But on the other hand, Florida State's a fantastic team as well. Incredible athletes up and down that roster. Sure. And I think you're going to get a real barn burner of a game, and I would think Florida State can probably win this by single digits.
Very good. We're going to go back to the NFL. We're going to talk a little NFL prop betting that's going to lead us all the way up to the Super Bowl. And obviously, Jay Cornegay revolutionized all the prop bets back when he was running the Imperial Palace, now at the LVH. We'll talk about things to look for here in the NFL playoffs. Stay with us. Pregame.tv.